The Essential Education projector range from Hitachi sponsors ICT programs.
Today's IT-savvy teenagers need secondary geography resources that will really grab their attention. And today on a resource review ICT special, we're examining 3 that might just knock them for 6. They are GIS software aimed at schools, agricultural simulation software, and a virtual 3D globe. Recommending today's resources, we have Fred Martin, course tutor for Geography with ICT at Bath Spa University. On the panel today is geography teacher Ian Oliver from Harden Hewish School in Chippenham, Wiltshire, and Adrienne Jones, a freelance education consultant. And over in the test lab, Matthew Tosh, our resident ICT investigator, is standing by to explore the resources for us. So Fred, the first resource we're going to discuss is ArcVoyager Special Edition. Can you tell us about this resource?
Well, the first reason that I'm going to recommend this resource is that it is a piece of GIS software. That in itself is a good enough reason for children to be using it.
OK, so why specifically ArcVoyager Special Edition?
That particular programme is a cut-down version of a professional tool, ArcView. So in a sense, it's a stepping stone towards working up to something that is a real-world application of ICT in the subject. It is based on a world map, and one can access various items of data from it. So, for example, if we wanted to look at population density, then one just clicks and there's the map. One can access other pieces of information from a menu, GNP per capita, for example,
Right.
and it will instantly change.
All right, well, to find out a little bit more about this resource, let's go over to Matthew Tosh in the test lab.
When you first start the ArcVoyager programme, you're presented with a guide window. It serves as a help window, but it also introduces the 4 sections, the Atlas sections of the programme. The first section is a tutorial. It explains really the fundamental parts of the programme. And the second one introduces some of the Atlas functions. And this is the one I've got open here. And you can see the map on the screen. And you can click on the themes here and have them displayed on the map. So I could add country borders, for example. There they are. I can zoom into different parts of the map using the zoom tool here. So I could just click on South Africa, get that coming into view a little bit more. But if you want to jump to a particular area on Earth, you can use the tour feature. So I'll just go down to Europe. Hey presto, it takes you straight to Europe. Now there are a variety of themes that you can add to the map. If I show you here, click on this green cross. I'm going to add some population density figures to the map. And if you want to bring the legend up, there is a legend button. And so that can help you decode the map. And I'm going to add some physical data now. We could have the plate boundaries. We could also have some volcanoes. Now if I switch off the country borders, you start to get a rather curious view of the surface of the Earth. If I bring the country borders back on, using this identification button, you can click on a part of the map. Let's click on Iceland, and all the volcano data for Iceland comes up. Now that was the most simple version of the programme. If I show you the 3rd level now, you can see there's a lot more toolbars at the top, so there's a lot more functionality with this version of the programme. For example, I could click on this label here, and the programme will identify whatever I click on. Now I'm still in volcano mode, I've got a bit of a volcano theme going here. And if I click on Sicily here, and drag my little sign out, there, it automatically labels Etna. Now I've only scratched the surface of the programme here. In level 4, you can actually have a go at creating your own maps based on data that's provided in the programme. Some really good mapping here. Well, talking of maps, I could do with a map to get out of here. I've been down here for weeks. Can anyone help?
Well, Fred, I can see this is potentially a fantastic resource, but there is a limitation in this particular version that students aren't able to save their projects.
The programme does have some limitations, that's why it's a free download, but it serves other purposes. If it serves the purpose of getting children using the programme as one would use a GIS system, then that's the main point of doing it. If one needs screenshots at the end, then there's other ways to take screenshots, but certainly you're right, it doesn't let you save a project at the end.
Okay, potential limitation there. Well, Ian, as a teacher who's had a look at this resource, thought about using it in his own classroom, what did you think?
Well, it's a resource with an amazing potential, there's no doubt about that. But I do have some reservations about using it in the classroom. But you'd have to do quite a lot of teaching and learning of the programme before you could actually reach its full potential and actually use it to investigate a geographical topic.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, that it is difficult to use, that's for sure. But if you feel that GIS is something that should be done in geography, then it's worth investing the time.
Adrienne, do you think this is something that a teacher could do? Is there enough support for them with this resource?
I think there's quite a lot of trial and error. You need a big commitment, but the advantage of it, as Fred said, is that you get real data and the potential to analyse and compare and contrast. So I think in terms of supporting a teacher and giving a purpose for activities, it does do that, but you do have to look around it a lot.
Okay, well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for on that one. Now let's move on to Fred's second choice of resource. Fred, something a bit different, some agricultural simulation software called Down on the Farm. Yep. Tell us about this one.
Well, the reason I've chosen this one is because, indeed, as with every piece of ICT software, I'm looking for something that has good geographical content and a good reason to use it, to use ICT in geography. Now, with Down on the Farm, the content of the geography is certainly very good. It operates on a variety of levels, as you can see. The other reason is that it's letting the children focus on the decisions about what to do, and then the program takes over the number crunching part. If I click on the level 2, the basic map outline will load. One can then have a look at the various aspects of the farm. If we want to see relief, then we can click on relief, or perhaps the soil type might also be worth looking at. And then we can change the map, being able to select what we want to look at each time.
All right, well, for a bit more of a tour of Down on the Farm, let's go back to Matthew in the test lab.
Now we're all going down on the farm today with this neat little package from GeoPax. There are 4 levels to the programme. You can see them here on the start screen, and I'm going to start with the most obvious one, the easy one. So we'll click on the apple here to bring up my map. You see my orange farmhouse there in the middle and all my fields on here. Now I don't have much information on the fields, but I can get it just by clicking on one of the numbers, and a friendly farmer pops up and explains the contents of that field. Now I can also add extra information to the map by using this button here. I can click on relief and drainage, so that will be added to my map, and I can also display different soil types or rock types. Now I'm going to need to add some crops at some point, so I need to click on my carrot here. I think we'll have some pigs, some dairy cattle, some soft fruit and some wheat. So we'll put some pigs here. We shall move my cattle across. I think we'll have the fruit next to the main road. Now I'm doing this in quite a haphazard way. Obviously children should research this properly and find out which crops grow where the best. Now to help children do the research, there's a rather useful manual, farmer's manual here, and you click on it and you can go to any type of livestock or crops to help plan where you want to put your crops. Well, I've done it, so let's run the model for a year and see what happens. We just use the tick button here, fingers crossed. Not bad, 83%. You can see the success rates for individual fields there on the screen. There's also a graphical analysis that we can do, and there's this comments tool here. So it's been a good year, but as you can see there is room for improvement. Now this is the easiest of levels. If you click on a new game, you can see all of the other levels that are available, and in level 4 you get random weather fluctuations, there are funding constraints, you can even apply for funding from the EU, so there's plenty for children to get their teeth into and research. Well, that concludes our tour of Down on the Farm. Back to Hermione.
Well, Ian, as a teacher who's actually used it with your pupils, how did it go down?
Well, it went down brilliantly. The kids loved it. Now, I was quite sceptical, I've got to say, because, number one, we don't teach a lot of agricultural geography, and there aren't that many good simulations around, in my opinion. So I was quite surprised, pleasantly surprised, and very engaged by this programme. You can run the whole programme from the screen. It's very user-friendly. And I was able to let the students loose on this with very little instruction. Straight away it becomes quite competitive. The students want to know why didn't I get 100% in that field? And very quickly.
Do they begin to
move
treat
on.
it like a game, though? Or do you think they still are really understanding the geography behind it?
To begin with, a bit like a game. But the moment they see they're not doing particularly well, they then start asking the right geographical questions.
Adrienne, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I've started up a farm now of my own, and I'm getting EU subsidies. And
Oh, no, that comes into the higher
it
levels,
does,
doesn't
and
it?
that's the good thing about it, because it works at so many different levels. And I don't think you'd really get fed up with it, actually, either as a teacher or as a student. And I think it's great the way Ian said that by just playing with it as it is, in that user-friendly way, you then almost learn by your mistakes.
Oh, well, a very popular choice there, Fred. Now let's go over to the third choice of resource, which you might already be familiar with. It's Google Earth. Explain this one to us, Fred.
I'm tempted not to say anything at all about Google Earth other than to just run it and let people look at it, because one of the things about Google Earth is that it does still have a wow factor about it. It's an extremely visual resource. It's a glorified atlas when it comes down to it, but it has so many other functions that a teacher is going to find useful. Looking around the screen, there's a whole range of options. The maps themselves, one can move around, one can zoom in to a quite extraordinary level of detail in some cases. One can scan, move across. The image slowly clears. There's a percentage down the bottom right which tells you how much of the image is there at any one time. Then one can keep going in and in and in, adding the detail each time. It will go in on some locations to the level of detail where you can see cars, individual people on streets.
Ian, what do you think?
Well, Google Earth is a great resource, and it's free, of course.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how many students actually have Google Earth at home, those who are lucky enough to have broadband. You've got to have a rough idea of where you want to be as far as the geography is concerned. So at the moment I'm sort of focusing in on North America, because you are downloading digital data across the broadband.
Just while you set up yours, can we just get a comment from Adrienne just while it's loading up? What do you think of Google Earth?
Well, it's fascinating. I believe that the data is 2 or 3 years old, so it's not actual, but there is this fascination. And if you're, for example, planning a holiday, it's great
No,
to
we're
actually
teaching
go
secondary geography.
No, but if students are actually planning trips, if they were doing a simulation as a tour guide or looking at tourism, for example, they could use it for that purpose.
So there's many different aspects to it.
Yeah.
So Ian, how's it going?
Okay. Well, this is something I actually did with some Year 9 students when we were starting a topic on volcanoes, and as a starting point, we sort of focused in on Mount St Helens. You can tilt the image so it changes from a vertical view to a horizontal view.
Well, a remarkable piece of software. Great. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Just to recap, the 3 resources that we've looked at are ArcVoyager Special Edition from Esri UK, Down on the Farm from Geopax, and Google Earth from Google. For more information about all of the resources, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review. Or if you want to, email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. So I'd like to say a big thank you to the panel, to Fred, to Ian, and to Adrienne. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.
Essential education projectors from Hitachi sponsor ICT programs.